Hey everybody, welcome to another video. Today we're going to follow up on the X-Men 97 show on Disney+. So the third episode is out, came out Wednesday. I'm making this on Thursday, but I'm going to be away for the weekend for Easter, so this video is, I don't think, going to post until Tuesday, so the day before the next episode, the fourth episode. So I watched it. I only watched it once so far. I haven't watched it twice. I need to watch it again. It looks just as good as the other two episodes. I'm going to give it that. Everything seems to be right up there as far as the quality. There's no difference. It's by I can't remember who the studio is. My buddy told me. I should have looked this up. But it's a Korean studio. The same studio did Avatar. So that's top-notch stuff. And that also kind of might lie a little issue here, is because I'm sure they're not cheap. And I know Disney's got more money than God, but at the same time, they probably don't want to shell out a ton of money for this. And that studio probably, charges a lot. So I'm thinking that that's another reason they're keeping the episode count down to 10. Here's my issue. I'll pull up just the Disney screen here. Let me put me somewhere. Where will we put me? I'll put me. I'm the fourth episode. No, here. We'll put me right here next to it. So the one, sorry, right there. That episode I'm talking about, right there. Fire Made Flesh is the name of the episode. They're all 33 minutes, I'm noticing, so they're all just a little bit over half an hour, which is a pretty decent length. You don't have to really compensate for commercial time, and there's no commercial breaks, so kind of just can play right through. So this is more like watching a 45-minute-ish type of thing, if it had breaks and stuff in it. My problem is this, and I didn't really have necessarily a problem with the way they did like Rise of Phoenix and Dark Phoenix in the older version of the show from the 90s, because like especially the Rise of the Phoenix, they spent 5 episodes on it. So they, because they had a lot of stuff building up to it, and then then what happens, and with Dark Phoenix Saga, I think it was 4 episodes, so it wasn't as long, but they still had time to flesh it out. This episode, and I find that the whole season is problematic, not in a bad way. Maybe it is a bad way, but this is my personal opinion. I don't think this is probably not a lot of people's opinion. They probably like it, and they're not really worried about what I'm kind of worried about, and that is they're rushing them. They're trying to get through stuff way too fast. The first 2 episodes, as great as they were, a lot happened in those first 2 episodes. Again, they didn't do any of the like the Fenris Wolf character, because essentially with Magneto, they're in that costume and joining the X-Men. It's essentially issue 200 of X-Men, Uncanny X-Men. So, sorry. Going into this new episode here, I knew it was going to be, because obviously another Jean Grey shows up at the end. Spoiler alert. It's not much of a spoiler alert, because if you know the story, I know there's probably might be people watching this that have never read the comic. But, one of them is, I'm not going to, okay, I'll leave it at this. One of them is the real Jean Grey, one of them is an imposter. One of them sus, as my son would say. It's a character who goes by the name Madeline Pryor, who shows up in the comic book. I won't give any more of the details away on that, but it has to do with the baby. Nathan Summers, Nathan Charles Summers, I think that's what she called him. So who's the real Jean Grey in this? Watch the episode; they'll talk about that. And I found they handled that kind of wonky. And here's the thing. I just got through talking about Inferno, right? That the whole thing in Inferno, which, was a lot, 5 issues of a comic plus crossovers into other series like New Mutants and X Factor. There's a lot of things going on, if not, I would say probably more so than, and then you have the Exterminators too. So there's more going on in Inferno than was going on with Dark Phoenix or Rise of the Phoenix, right? Because the Rise of the Phoenix was pretty much isolated to just the X-Men comics. I mean, sure, there was some other issues that kind of play into it, but by and large, it is, it wasn't as many issues as Inferno. Inferno was a bigger story arc. Now, again, Inferno's not this it's not a masterpiece. It's got its issues. The writing in it is goofy. A lot of the things in it are goofy. So if you want to go on that account, they did ditch a lot of the goofy things. However, they did Inferno essentially in one 33-minute episode. If you want to count the very end of of episode 2, leading up to it, all of a minute or two of that leads up to this, and the Inferno kind of comes into it. So I'm assuming also that because they make mention into it, because this is a continuation of the old show, that these characters have dealt with Mr. Sinister before. Mr. Sinister being, the baddie in this one. And one thing I got to say with Mr. Sinister was he was barely in the episode. He was in it here and there. They showed him from afar a few times. He didn't really have a solid presence. And this is all I'm guessing. I'm guessing that the reason they did that is because they're still like kind of ashamed, or somehow people think that the costume on him is somehow, I don't know. I mean, look at Magneto. He's got a skin tight suit on and bicep length gloves. What kind of dude character runs around with bicep length gloves? That's pretty much usually like a thing that goes. Basically, all he needs is a corset, a corset leotard, and and have bare legs with thigh high boots. It's essentially his costume. I guess maybe they don't like his. I don't know what it is with Mr. Sinister, but that episode, he's barely in it. There was not enough back and forth between him and Maddie. Again, I won't tell you which one Maddie is, but Maddie's costume is pretty. It was pretty good. It wasn't as crazy as the original. Obviously, they're not going to do that. But I thought the action figure I saw looked like she had like a darker nylon, and then was a crazy thigh high. So you're not seeing much thigh. That's actually the thighs. Her thighs in it were the same color as her rest of her skin, so it doesn't look like she had nylons on. There's a couple of shots that were pretty risque, like ooh, nothing crazy. But anyway, so but she didn't have like the cape was a little lackluster. If you've seen the action figure, she's also called the Goblin Queen. The goblins were in it, and it's either making a play on Dante's Inferno, and of course, because Beast has to bring it up, because he's learned, so he has to bring up Dante's Inferno. But they do end up going to hell like they do in the comic books. There's the goblins. There's the Goblin Queen. She wants the baby. But they don't. She does and she doesn't. I guess they're not going to do, we're not going to sacrifice the baby to the goblins, or however, I can't remember exactly how it was in Inferno, but I don't think they were going to go down that route for this. They're probably kind of, cleaning that up a bit. So I wasn't really sure what they were doing with that. Also, I thought it was weird that, okay, so without spoiling it, this might spoil it. Okay, I'm gonna pussyfoot around this, but I guess I can't. I guess I just gotta come on. Spoiler alert. So, Madeline Pryor is Nathan Summers' real mother. She's the one that gave birth in the other episode. She's the one that had been posing as, not to her knowledge, because she's a clone. Mr. Sinister created her as a clone. in every possible way. So she is the one that gave birth. So when the girl, Jean Grey, shows up at the end, that's the real Jean Grey. She escaped from, being locked up in the dungeons of Mr. Sinister, which that was like really quick, like briefly just shot at real quick, and so she doesn't have a lot of the memories. But that's funny is because she's out of it for a lot of the episode. She comes to in one scene. And then falls back unconscious again. She's out of it, and then she comes up back at the end. And when she comes up back at the end, she's like fully aware of everything that the other, Madeline has experienced over like the childbirth and the whole thing with Magneto forming and stuff like that. How? I mean, I know she reads minds. I guess that's what I guess she does like a quick, but they don't explain any of that. I mean, it would even just be like even since they're going quick on things, just a quick primer, to how she knows all this stuff. Obviously, it's like you can't say, okay, well, the audience knows that she has, psychic ability. So therefore, anything that seems unexplainable, the audience should already put 2 and 2 together. You can't be that. No. Back in the day, Chris Claremont, he would tell you that Wolverine's claws are made out of adamantium in every single issue. That was a little excessive. But you needed someone there to make a quick reminder of saying, like, Mr. Sinister's like, he could have said something like, oh, I see you've probed Madeline's mind, or Madeline could say something like, oh, get out of my mind, whatever. But she shows up, she knows too much too fast at the end. The whole parting of the ways at the end, Madeline is just like, oh, she pulls a Storm. I'm out of here. I'm leaving. Got civilian clothes on, and here I go. It's just like, okay, they don't explain the goblins of Limbo, or, the whole hell thing. They don't, outside of, these quick beasts saying, oh, it's Dante's Inferno. It's just like, what's that mean? Maybe not everybody knows what Dante's Inferno is, I think they went under the assumption that everybody who really is going to like this has watched the original cartoon, and they're assuming everybody has read the comic or knows the story of Inferno, and so therefore they could gloss over it real quick, clean up a lot of the stuff that they didn't agree with, and bang it out, and it's just, it went way too fast. Way too fast. I think this should have, at bare minimum, should have been a 2-part episode. They should have set up. They should have more banter, more talk back and forth with Mr. Sinister. Obviously, I guess they weren't gonna go around the whole route that she wanted. She was eventually, Madeline Pryor basically, in the end, is going to sacrifice her own child. The Nathan Summers. But they didn't get into any of that. Which is kind of the whole. Here's the thing: is if you're not going to do the story of Inferno, I don't know. It's like they're just taking like little chunks of these major story arcs and just peppering them into the show, which is fine. But the thing is, there's so much in there that then they're not explaining. It's just like, okay, well, I'm only going to take little bits and chunks from stuff that you already know, and then we're going to confuse the hell out of you by not explaining anything or why we took specific little chunks. I find it just, the first episodes are great, and I knew that something was gonna, when I saw 10 episodes and I kind of saw they're going, I knew something was, and it doesn't spoil the show. It's still worth watching, it's still great, it's still done amazing, but in my personal opinion, I think it's moving way too fast. They're not explaining anything, how they should, because even the people who know the stories, if you're gonna jerk the story around and change it, right, then I don't know the story anymore. So you've got to explain that to me, in some way, do that. Because I don't know. I think we'll see what happens in episode 4. Now, obviously, episode 4. I'm just going to bring this up just to reiterate. There's Madeline, there's the goblins, there's little Nathan. They're not going to put her in that costume. I would love to see her costume, but they could at least have tattered like that. I mean, that's too hard to animate. Whatever. The goblins looked fine, but basically everything on this cover is with the exception of her scantily cladness. That's pretty much everything of the episode. You've got Madeline Pryor, right, as the Goblin Queen. There are goblins. It takes place in hell. There is a little baby Nathan, and you barely see Mr. Sinister. That's it. That's everything that they've taken from 5 comics, let alone the crossover comics, and not explained it. I just think that they shouldn't have done that. But now what I wanted to show you too is, okay, so at the end, I knew they were gonna put, when they took, spoiler alert, Storm loses her powers in the second episode. It happened in the story, it happened in the original story, and when she lost her powers, she kind of left, and she also put on the black leather vest with the mohawk. That's why they put her in the mohawk hair, is because they set her up, which I think was kind of dumb, because I think what they should have done, and it could have been Jubilee, it didn't have to be Shadowcat, because there's no Kitty Pryde in this, but they could have done, because so in the comic book, Kitty Pryde, looks up to Storm all the time, and then she ends up shaving her hair into the mohawk, and Kitty Pryde just loses it. She's like, I can't believe you did this, and you ruined, I don't know exactly what she was mad that she cut her hair and made this mohawk, and they could have done a scene like that with like Jubilee, since she's like the de facto Kitty Pryde at this point. And she could have been the same thing. Like, she could have cut her hair after she lost her powers, and Jubilee could have been like, even the connection they had with Jean Grey was like, how could you have done that, and then she leaves. Okay, so at the very end of this episode, it's a good thing they did not try to squeeze this. If they tried to squeeze this into this third episode, they're way too much. But obviously they led up to the I keep calling it life song, I don't know why, but the life-death love story between her and Forge. Forge shows up at the very end. She's in a bar, which I find weird. She's in a bar drinking. I think she's drinking a beer. She's not smoking, but just like, I thought, I don't know. Everything seems to be weird with how, like, what they think, what they don't want to put in a kid's show, what they do on a kid's show. So it's whatever they feel like that day, apparently. Not saying, but I'm just saying, it was always a rule that you couldn't put drug use, alcohol use, and tobacco use in anything, kids' property for a certain time period. After kind of, like Wolverine had this cigar, and that was like the last of that, or like, what's his face, The Thing, and then they clean that. I don't know, it's weird, but anyways, so Forge shows up. Spoiler alert if you've never read the comic, but they kind of hint in this episode anyways. This Forge is he can forge anything, and he's gonna try to get her powers back. And then of course they develop this love story, this love relationship between the two in the process. So that's the first issue. Ironically, that is one of the first, if not the, I think this was the, no, it wasn't. Was it? No, it wasn't. Because it says, I know the October thing isn't always correct. Maybe it was. But I think, maybe it was. I think it was. So that was the comic book that was on the shelf at the Rochester Book Center in 1984 when I went to go. Because I went in the summer, right? But I know that they always have them a few months off on the cover date for the cover month. So it says October. It was probably July, ish. But I went. That was the X-Men. And I was going there looking for X-Men, and I saw that issue. Is the big double size. I remember the guy I was with, he was like, oh, it's a double size issue, and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, and there's Storm with their mohawk, and I was like, oh, this is so cool. And ended up getting this comic, and I think I got the one or two before it that they had as far as back issues. So ironically, that was my first foray into X-Men, was this comic, which wasn't really a good introduction into it because it's all about Storm and Forge, right? But and then they did a follow-up, Life Death Part 2, you know. Oh, artwork by Barry Windsor Smith. I gotta say, I'm not a huge Barry Windsor Smith fan, but I'm not. This is more about the cartoon than getting into the comic. But so anyways, that's where they end the comic on. The show on. So I'm assuming episode 4 is going to be the Life Death. And now here's the thing, and I have this sneaky feeling that they're going to spend an entire episode, if not 2 episodes. If they spend 2 episodes, they're really, you know, I think they're going to spend a solid episode on this Life Death. Now, Life Death is only 2 issues, right? You're going to spend an entire episode on this, but you're going to spend only 1 episode to cover Inferno, right? I think that's how much they wanted to gloss over Inferno. Because I'm not saying that that's what they're going to do, but I have a sneaky suspicion that the Life Song story is going to be really drawn out. And I think because they really want to promote Storm, not that she needs any promotion as it is. I mean, she's already a fan favorite. A lot of people love Storm. But they figure, you know, it's like, we got this black woman, and we really want to go into her story because of the whole, you know, diversity thing. And it's just like, okay, you don't need to do that, because the X-Men already, like I said, the X-Men are the pioneer of diversity, and you don't need to do that. But I got a sneaking suspicion they do that. I'm not saying they are. I just got a sneaky suspicion they do. I'll stand corrected if they don't. Which begs the question, if they do get this knocked out in an episode, or even if it, you know, I stand corrected and it's only a little chunk of the next episode, if they do follow the mutants towards the end of the season, which would be goofy, because Follow the Mutants happened before Inferno, then I know that they're really just doing whatever the hell they want to do. But if they do Follow the Mutants, so they haven't even introduced the Freedom Force yet. So if they did, and then they did Follow the Mutants, I would think that would be awkward. If they went as far as going through to doing, when Rogue goes, spoiler alert in the comic book, Rogue goes through the Siege Perilous. If they introduce the Siege Perilous, and Rogue gets bamfed away at the end of this, that's the season, you know, leaves on Rogue's gone, you know, they could do that. Then, of course, that would lead into the Savage Land. They've already hinted in this last episode, in episode 3 of the Savage Lands, when Gambit's, you know, he's all high on sinister weed, and he goes in, and, you know, he goes into this room and he sees Rogue, and she's got the outfit from Savage Land, which is 2, I can't remember what the number of the comic is, but anyways, she has that outfit on, and she's hugging, sorry, I'll go to this will help you out. She's hugging Magneto. Where's the issue? Where's the Siege Perilous episode? Oh, it's where she okay, so this is the issue where she goes through the Siege Perilous. And then when she pops back out, obviously there's the issues where she comes back out of the Perilous. Maybe they'll bring in Psylocke and they'll do the Acts of Vengeance dealio. They could do that with Wolverine. You know, maybe they'll bring in Cap and really like to see Black Widow come back in with that issue. So this is right after that. So this is the issue where what's her face? Rogue comes back, and then I'll pull this up. She comes back through the Siege Perilous, naked, of course. Anyways, and then when she gets to what's his face? What the hell's his name? Gateway. Gateway sends her to I think she sends her to the Savage Lands. I haven't read this issue in a while, but this is where, of course, you know, the outfit comes from. There we go. Everybody loves that outfit. that she had that outfit on in this episode briefly when she's hugging Magneto, which is of course a callback to this cover. They basically did that. Of course, he had the other costume on, but yeah, you know, because there's that whole triangle dealio thing that happens in this comic with Magneto and Rogue. Yeah, it's incidentally, isn't it? It's kind of her. Turn her around and put Apocalypse up, and you've got this shot from the original. But anyways, yeah. So going back to the episode, it's good. It looks just like so everything's top notch on it. If you enjoyed the first 2 episodes and you're not super steeped in the comic, you probably will enjoy this one. But you might be a little, like, am I missing something? Because things happen too fast and they're not very well explained. Other than that, that's my only nitpicks with it. I don't have any issue. There's a scene that people are probably going to, get all up in arms about where Morph goes into the shower and it's not Wolverine because he's imagining it because Sinister's playing with everybody's mind, and he sees Wolverine and he's naked, but of course, it's all obscured by the mist of the steam of the shower, and it's very homoerotic scene, which is, playing up the Morph's got a thing for Wolverine. And I know people are going to blow there's a couple of people I know, all the usual suspects online are going to blow this out of proportion, and they're just going to talk it up, and it's just like, whatever. I didn't care for the scene. It didn't bother me. I rolled my eyes. I half rolled my eyes. It's like, but that's about it. That's about all you get out of me when I see like some of the stuff that everybody just goes gaga over. Some stuff is pretty egregious sometimes, and like I said, I don't have a problem with it as long as it's part of the story and part of the narrative, and the narrative's good. And then I don't care if it's heavy-handed and just shoehorned in there just for the sake of look what we did. Then it gets a little tedious and uncalled for. But this scene, it was pretty subtle, and it definitely fit the narrative of the story, and the story was good, despite my issues with it. So that's how you do it, right? If you want to throw in something like that. But like I said, I know everybody's going to go crazy on it. It seems like that most of the criticism for the show is pretty positive. But no, I'm not going to activate Disney Plus cashback now. I don't need another credit card. Anyways, what was I saying? Cashback credit card threw me off. Yeah. I guess we'll leave it at that. We'll see where it's going. We'll see what happens in episode 4. I'll continue to give you my opinion on the show as it progresses here. Like I said, I've been waiting for this for a while, and I'm pretty into this. I really like it. Like I said, despite I have issues right out of the bat. Third episode, and I'm already starting to have issues. But if they handle life death okay, which I'm not. It's not like I'm like, oh, I love life death. It's just, but they handle that a lot better than they handled the Inferno. And I like Inferno, but again, it's dumb too. But they handle that okay. If they're gonna grab anything else like they've been doing, that's fine. Like I said, I don't know if they do follow the mutants after Inferno. I find that goofy. I there's a suspicion, because Magneto's there, and of course they kind of hinted with Illyana. Illyana was there briefly, right? It's like, okay, so are they going to do the New Mutants? Because obviously, what's his face at that time? Magneto goes and becomes the leader of the New Mutants. So, you see where I'm going with this? It's just like, Okay, so is they going to do that? And then if that's the case, then the regular X-Men going to go... I think Dazzler was there briefly, if I remember. I can't remember. But are they going to go back... are they going to go, in hiding into the, the gateway and go to Australia, go to the Mutants Down Under, my favorite? Is Longshot going to show up again? They've already established that he exists in this cartoon with the Mojo Vision episode. They're going to bring Dazzler. What about Psylocke? Are they going to do the old Psylocke? Are they going to do the Ninja Psylocke? Are they going to do Acts of Vengeance? Well, we got to know. What are they going to do? And what are they going to butcher and paste up for this show? But I don't know. It is what it is. I had issues with them doing that in the first time around in the 90s. I still kind of have issues with it, but at the end of the day, none of this stuff is, nothing's canon anymore, it seems like. And it's just, these stories just keep going and going and going, and they're never ending. Like I said, it's, the all-new X-Men's 1975, it's 2024, and we're still X-Menning. We're still Spider-Manning. We're still Fantastic Fouring. It's just like, have the comic book characters, because obviously they're older than Star Wars, have they transcended? The only thing I think it's still around, it's as old as the X-Men, is probably Star Trek. And that's pretty far removed from what it used to be. So, Star Trek and, obviously got Batman and stuff like that, but I don't know. I liked some of the stuff the first time around. I don't know. It is what it is. You either like it or you don't. That's what it comes down to. I'm choosing to watch it. I'm choosing to like it. So, and I'll have my nitpicks, but that's about it. Like I said, I'm not like, oh my God, they've destroyed my childhood. None of that shit. I'll just watch it. So, there we are with that. I don't want to keep saying I'll just watch it 1,000 more times. So remember, like and subscribe. I'm adding the end screens on this, and I'm trying to doctor up my YouTube videos because I got so many, and obviously I'm doing things wrong. I'm getting these emails from people sending me stuff saying, look what you're doing wrong. I can fix it if you pay me money. Okay, well, yeah, I could fix it if I paid myself money too. But I don't have the time and the money to do that. So I'll course adjust as I go, right? Like I said, this is not my bread and butter. This is a side project that I'm doing more cathartic for myself than anything else. But I would like to get a following, and I'd like to get, I can always use a few extra bucks, but I'm not betting the farm on this. So I'm not going to, pay people to help me out with this. I don't even have an editing software because I'm not going to invest that money if this stuff starts getting bigger than my other job, my other business, then yes, I'll start investing in it and spend more time in it. But really, it's not my passion to do so. My passion is to do comic books, and I love talking about comic books, and I love doing these videos. Like I said, very cathartic for me. But that's exactly what it is, And if I can make a few extra bucks, but not rely on it, that's fine. And if I can, talk to people, meet people, have conversations with people, that's fine too. I like all of that. So it is what it is. And I will catch you on the next one, which I probably won't be recording another video until I come back from the holidays. So this one will post next week after I get back. And then by that time, the next episode of this will be out almost. But I'll probably do something in between there. All right, I'll catch you later, and see you on the next one. Bye-bye.